children started laughing. They're just laughing. It is a crazy laughing, jumping all over the place. All of a sudden, there was an epidemic. Laughing disease, Kashasha here.
Bukoba, Tanganyika, April 1962. The air tastes like pure panic. A village is being destroyed by a sound that should be happy, but joy is not on the menu today. 217 people are physically breaking. Their stomach muscles are ripping under the strain of a laugh they didn't ask for. This is not a comedy. This is a biological assault. Doctors Rankin and Phillip arrive with needles and notebooks. They check for brain swelling. They check for poisoned food. They check for a virus. They find nothing. No fever, no infection.
Who got the blood samples, went to Europe to find out if there was a virus. They thought about differential diagnosis. There was we say NAD, nothing abnormal detected.
Just 1,000 people trapped in a biological loop. Victims are fainting from a lack of air. They are attacking their own families. If you look into their eyes, you see the truth. The body is laughing, but the soul is screaming. I am the Watchman. Case number 04 is open. How does a simple giggle turn into a regional state of siege? The timeline starts on a Tuesday, January 30, 1962. We are at the Kashasha Mission School for Girls. It's a strict religious boarding school near Lake Victoria. Mission is run by Europeans with an iron fist. The rules are hard, and the discipline is constant. At 9:45 a.m., the silence of the classroom breaks. 3 teenagers start to giggle. In any other school, this is a minor distraction, but these girls do not stop. A giggle turns into a howl. A howl turns into a scream of laughter. They are doubled over in physical pain. Teachers try to calm them, but it is like fighting a tide. By noon, the virus of laughter has a full grip on the school. This is where the math gets ugly. Within weeks, 95 out of 159 students are infected. The mission school looks less like a place of learning. It looks more like a high-security asylum. The teachers try to restore order. They yell and they punish. They plead for the children to just be quiet. But here is the detail that keeps investigators up at night. Not a single teacher catches the bug. 5 adults are surrounded by a sea of hysterical children, yet their central nervous systems stay perfectly calm. The laughter refuses to cross the line of authority. It only strikes the people with no power. The school finally surrenders to the noise. On March 18, they close the doors for good. The administrators make a massive mistake. They send the infected girls back to their home villages. They think they are solving the problem. In reality, they just handed a psychological bomb to the entire country. March 18, 1962. The school shuts down. The headmaster thinks he is a hero. He thinks a quiet campus means a dead virus. He is dead wrong. 95 girls walk out of the school gates. They carry no germs and they carry no fever. They carry a glitch in their software. They travel back to their homes across the Bukoba district. 10 days later, the virus wakes up in the village of Nshamba. Nshamba is 55 miles away from the school. It should have been a safe distance, but distance means nothing to a mental fire. The laughter starts in a few houses. Then it hits the streets like an explosion. Out of 10,000 villagers, 217 people fall. It's not just schoolgirls anymore. Young men and small children start to crack. They tell the doctors their brains feel strange. They say things are moving around inside their heads. They look like they are running from a ghost. They are physically wiped out. Every muscle is screaming from the constant shaking. Every breath is a struggle for survival. This is the moment the medical world gets a cold slap in the face. Standard rules say you stop a disease by moving people apart. But with this pathogen, the quarantine was the fuel. By trying to hide the kids, the adults created a regional disaster. The fire is now moving faster than the local police. It is jumping from town to town like a radio signal. And it is about to get much more violent. Laughter is now a regional wildfire. It burns through the entire educational system of Tanganyika. 14 schools are forced to shut down. Over 1,000 people are now in the grip of the madness. It jumps the border into Uganda. It hits the towns of Kigezi and Mbale. But the symptoms are changing as it moves. It is no longer just a giggle or a howl. Victims are now suffering from running manias. They sprint aimlessly for miles until their hearts nearly quit. They scream at shadows and check over their shoulders. They strike out at anyone who tries to help. The local communities are looking for a culprit to blame. Some blame radioactive dust from atomic bomb tests. Others whisper a much older word, Lutego. It is a high-level curse used to punish social sins. The local population officially sues the Kashasha school. They claim the mission center released a monster into their streets. But the monster isn't a demon or a hex. It is a mirror. Human brains have something called mirror neurons. They are the cells that fire when you watch someone else do an action. If I see you eat, my brain simulates eating. If these girls hear a scream of laughter, their brains automatically copy the sound. In a high-pressure environment, the brain loses its filter. It just repeats the signal over and over until the system crashes. The entire region is now a hall of mirrors. And the deeper reason for this crash is hidden in the history books. We need to look at the math of the human mind. Tanganyika hit the reset button December 9th, 1961.
From colonial status to independence.
Independence is a heavy load for a young nation to carry. The old colonial rules were dying in the streets. New and impossible standards took their place. For a girl at the Kashasha school, the pressure was a physical weight. She had to be a perfect student for the new state. She had to be a perfect daughter for her traditional family. She had zero power to complain or say no. In my line of work, we call this a bottleneck. When the mind is not allowed to speak, the body takes over. This is the mechanism of conversion disorder. It is a total software crash. The emotional stress is so high, it leaks into the motor cortex. That is the part of your brain that controls your movement. The internal fear converts into an external switch. In this case, the twitch was a scream of laughter. It was a biological rebellion against a world that wouldn't listen. You have to understand that your brain is a social machine. It is constantly scanning the people around you to see how to act. We all have special cells called mirror neurons. Think of them as biological copycats. When you see someone pick up a cup, your brain simulates that exact move. It readies your muscles even if you stay still. This is how we learn to walk and talk. But it is also how we catch a mental glitch. Human beings have an auditory feature detector built into our hardware. It is a part of the brain that is always listening for the sound of a laugh. In a normal world, this is a tool for social bonding. It helps a group feel the same emotion at the same time to keep everyone safe. But in 1962, the system was redlining from extreme stress. These girls were looking for any way to vent the pressure building in their heads. When patient zero started to laugh, the sound hit the other girls like a command. Their mirror neurons didn't just simulate the sound, they bypassed the off switch and took over the body. The emotional fear in the brain's basement spilled over into the motor control room. It forced the diaphragm to spasm and the throat to tighten. It was a chain reaction of biology. One brain crashed and it sent a shutdown signal to every other brain in the room. By the time the teachers realized what was happening, the air was full of triggers. You couldn't help but catch it. Hearing the laugh was enough to make your own brain pull the trigger. This glitch only strikes the people at the bottom of the ladder. The teachers and the elders have the power to change their lives. These girls only had the power to break. The laughter was not a joke, it was a white flag. June 1964. The fire finally runs out of fuel. The laughter stops as suddenly as it began. The Bukoba district returns to a quiet baseline, but the scars on the community remain in the legal files. We like to think we are in control of our own heads. We believe our thoughts are our own and our bodies are our property. Case number 04 proves that is a lie. Your brain is a piece of hardware running fragile software. Under enough pressure, the system will crash. It will find a way to leak the stress out, even if that means laughing until your ribs break. This was not a miracle or a curse. It was a mass neurological failure. The laughter was a scream for help that nobody could hear. Case number 04 is officially closed, but human history is full of much darker rooms. Next, we travel back to the heart of Rome. The year is 897 AD. The Vatican is about to hold the most disturbing trial ever recorded. The man in the dock is named Formosus. He isn't going to say a single word. He has been dead for 7 months. They dug him up and dressed his rotting body in royal robes. They sat him on a throne and screamed legal charges at a corpse. I am the Watchman. Stay in the light.